Right now, in this moment, there are invisible battles happening all around you. Someone just decided what you'll think about for the next 5 minutes. Someone else just established, whether they are above you or below you in an unspoken hierarchy, and you didn't even notice. Welcome to the ecosystem. You're already in it. The question is, are you predator, prey, or just food? Every conversation has a hidden architecture. Someone controls the frame, and someone else lives within it. Let me show you what I mean. Watch any interaction, a job interview, a negotiation, even a casual chat. On the surface, it looks like a normal exchange. But something else is happening beneath the words. One person is setting the rules. The other is following them. One person decides what matters. The other argues within those boundaries. This is frame control, and it's the most fundamental power. Dynamic in human interaction. In nature, predators don't just hunt prey. They control the terrain. They dictate the rules of engagement. The prey doesn't even realize they're in a game they can't win. The same thing happens in conversations. In this ecosystem of human interaction, frames are the territory. Whoever owns the frame owns the interaction. The person inside the frame is just a visitor. So what exactly is a frame? A frame is the lens through which reality is interpreted. It's the presupposition, the unspoken assumption that shapes everything that follows. Let me give you an example. Someone says, "Why are you always so defensive?" Notice what just happened. They didn't ask if you're defensive. They assumed it. The frame is, "You are defensive, and now we are discussing why." If you respond with, "I'm not defensive," you've already lost. You're arguing within their frame. You're defending yourself against an accusation you never agreed was true. That's how frames work. They're invisible borders that shape what can be discussed, what's acceptable, and who has authority. The person who sets the frame is outside it, looking in. The person reacting to the frame is trapped inside it, trying to prove something within rules they didn't choose. Now think about your own life. How many times have you found yourself defending a position you didn't choose? Arguing on terms someone else set? Trying to prove yourself according to standards you never agreed to? You were inside their frame. This happens everywhere. In job interviews, where the interviewer owns the frame of evaluation. In relationships, where one partner frames the other as the problem. In sales conversations, where the seller frames the buyer as someone with a need. The ecology of power is built on frames. Here's where it gets interesting. Most frame battles are completely silent. Imagine two people meeting for coffee. On the surface, it's friendly. But underneath, there's a quiet negotiation happening. Who speaks first? Who sets the topic? Who laughs at whose jokes? Who asks questions and who answers them? These aren't accidents. They're microsignals of frame dominance. Let me show you 5 silent frame moves that happen in almost every conversation. The question frame. Person A says, "So what do you do?" Person B responds, "I'm in marketing. What about you?" Person A just set the frame. They are the interviewer. Person B is now the subject. Notice how person B immediately tries to rebalance by asking the same question back. That's frame defense. Person B felt the shift and tried to reclaim ground. The interpretation frame. Person A says, "You seem upset." Person B, "I'm not upset." Person A, "See? You're getting defensive." Person A is now interpreting person B's reality for them. They've claimed the authority to define what person B is feeling. That's frame dominance. The unspoken assumption frame. Person A says, "When you finish that report, can you send it to me?" Notice the frame. When you finish, not if. The assumption is embedded. Person A just claimed authority without asking for it. Person B now has 2 choices: comply with the frame, or expend energy challenging it. Most people just comply, because frame battles are exhausting. The reframe. Person A asks, "Why are you always late?" Person B responds, "I prioritize quality over speed. When would you like me to compromise?" Person B just reframed. They took the accusation, "You're always late," and repositioned it as a strategic choice about priorities. Now person A is in their frame. That's how you escape a hostile frame. You don't argue within it. You reframe the entire interaction. The silence frame. Person A, we can offer you $70,000. Person B says nothing. Person A, but we might be able to go up to $75,000. Silence is a frame. It creates discomfort. The person who speaks first, to fill the silence, just showed they're less comfortable with it. That's a microsignal of lower status. Person B just used silence as a power move. Without saying a word, they forced person A to negotiate against themselves. See how this works. These battles are happening constantly. Most people don't even see them. They just feel something, like the conversation slipped out of their control, or someone made them feel small without being overtly rude. That's the ecology at work. The predators know the terrain. The prey just feel confused. Now, before we go further, let me be clear about something. This isn't a manipulation guide. This is literacy. In this series, we are going to explore the ecology of power, how influence works, how hierarchies form, how some people dominate social environments effortlessly while others struggle. But the goal isn't to turn you into a manipulator. It's to turn you into someone who sees the game being played. In nature, the gazelle that understands the lion's hunting patterns survives longer than the one that doesn't. Awareness is survival. The same is true in human ecosystems. When you understand frames, you stop being a passive participant. You stop defending yourself within hostile frames. You stop giving your power away without realizing it. You become conscious within the ecosystem. And once you're conscious, you have choices. You can recognize when someone is framing you and decide whether to engage or reframe. You can exit interactions where the frame is designed to diminish you. You can build your own frame, a coherent identity that doesn't need external validation. You can protect others who are being framed unfairly. This is about agency. It's about seeing the invisible architecture so you can navigate it intentionally. Over the next 9 episodes, we are going to map this entire ecosystem. How frames form your perception of reality. How dominance and submission play out in relationships, workplaces, and everyday interactions. How apex predators, the dark triad, operate without conscience. How hierarchies form invisibly. How gaslighting warps your sense of reality. And finally, how to build a frame so solid that you become untouchable. This is the ecology of power and influence. Welcome to the ecosystem. Next episode, frames of reality, how your mind shapes what you see, and why some people's frames feel heavier than yours. Until then, I want you to do something. Pay attention to your conversations. Notice when someone sets a frame. Notice when you're defending yourself within rules you didn't choose. Notice who asks questions and who answers them. Just observe. Don't react. Not yet. Because once you see the ecosystem, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything changes.